Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Adult Education and Workforce Development Statewide webinar for November 13th, 2019. Just a few days, a couple of weeks away from Thanksgiving. I am Jerry Hafner, and with me this morning is the Adult Education team. Let's start with an inspirational story from Area 30 Career Center Adult Education. Emma was a pregnant teenager who dropped out of high school at the age of 17. She became a single mother and started working to support her son. But she was living barely from paycheck to paycheck. Waitressing full-time paid only $2.45 an hour, plus tips. And she knew she wasn't going to make it if she didn't improve her situation. She was able, fortunately, to pay her rent and child care, but was constantly juggling from one bill to the next. She decided she needed to make some changes and take control of her life. She enrolled in the high school equivalency classes at Area 30 Adult Education, as I said, and she earned her HSE diploma. She was then eligible to apply for jobs that required a diploma, but she didn't know what she wanted to do to earn a living and care for her son. With the help of her instructors, she researched college and career pathways, and looking into the local job market and the earnings in the job market helped Emma decide to enroll in a workforce certification course for CNC machine operators. The Area 30 adult course allowed Emma to work her full-time job while she took the class. Emma immediately began interviews and was hired as an entry-level CNC machine operator at Dixie Chopper. Her new full-time position at the time paid $14.50 an hour, with a lot of overtime that eventually paid her $22 an hour. Her health insurance costs dropped from more than $150 a month to only $3 a week. Unfortunately, when Dixie Chopper closed a few months later, she became a dislocated worker and was approved to take more CNC courses through Ivy Tech, this time utilizing TAA funds. Upon graduation, she added 6 more certifications. Emma, I'm happy to report, is now working as a CNC machinist at GE Aviation, and her income continues to rise in a high-demand career. I'm only 20 years old, she said, and I can honestly say I love my job. Because of my education and training, I can finally support myself and my son all on my own. What a wonderful story. Now let's turn to another story from Jasper County. More than 1 out of every 5 students report being bullied, according to the National Center for Educational Statistics. While she never finished high school, Carissa Schneider was much more than a statistic. As her senior year approached, she was pregnant and a victim of bullying. Being bullied took away any motivation she had to stay in school. The bullying, she said, got worse, so I quit school. Years later, she didn't know where to begin to finish the education she left behind. I didn't know where to go to start the process. I was terrified of failing and wanted to make everyone proud in the end. Then I heard about the Jasper County DeMott Adult Learning Center from a friend who had gone through the program. Now, as a mother of 2 girls, Carissa was motivated more than ever to succeed. She started the high school equivalency preparation classes there because I wanted to have a better life for me and my girls. They deserve better, she said. Teacher Robin Ashley had confidence in Carissa from the very start. Carissa, she said, hit the ground running in spite of her barriers coming to class. She asked pertinent questions and kept a positive attitude. We felt that she could handle a faster track than some students because her entry-level scores were solid. We asked her to test after only 2 months of study, her teacher said. She passed the HSC exam on her very first try, and her excitement was contagious, said her teacher. She then worked with a Work One Youth Career Pathway facilitator to explore career options, and her interest in nursing was sparked after learning about a local CNA training that was available to her. She enrolled in the CNA classes, and she now plans to attend college to pursue a career in nursing. And the last story this morning comes from Bloomington, Indiana. Hopes and dreams are very much alive in Bloomington. Listen to the story by Nordia McNish. I was attending McDowell Adult Education in Columbus before I became homeless. A shelter in Bloomington was the only shelter that would accept my son and me because of my immigration status at the time. I was not comfortable sitting around doing nothing. I had dreams and aspirations. With that in mind, I found Monroe County Community Schools Adult Education Program. My teacher was Sheila Butler, and I took my class through the Head Start program designed for parents. I accomplished my high school equivalency diploma and took Accuplacer for entrance into college and was able to begin college. It empowered me to believe in myself even more and not restrict my goals to be shaped by my present circumstances. I was robbed of opportunities as a young adult because I was in an abusive relationship and I was crippled with fear. I decided if I ever got the opportunity to go back to school, I will become unstoppable in achieving my goals. I went from being homeless to attending Indiana University. My struggles never ended, but my purpose was more visible. I have a son who I want to be proud of his mother and be inspired to never give up, no matter how hard it gets, or who tells you that your dreams are too big for your circumstances. 3 great stories. Thank you so much for sharing them. Nordia mentioned that she started her journey in adult education at the McDowell Adult Education Center in Columbus. Today, we have the pleasure of having Megan and Nikki on the webinar to discuss their workforce projects in and around the Columbus area. Welcome, Megan and Nikki.
Hey. Hello.
Hello. Go right ahead.
All right.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having us, and we really will go quickly this morning as we share some of what we've been able to do in terms of partnering with our local businesses and folks here in the area. So we want to share 4 unique workplace education initiatives that we have, and we've actually gotten to number 5 that we left off as we were talking this morning about all the things that we do. But the thing you'll see as we go through these is that we have some key partnerships, which has just been all about getting the right people in the right room. We've definitely had to have patience and persistence because getting these relationships built and off the ground takes both of those, and we've had to be flexible. But amongst all of that, when we have the right people in the room and that the vision and the support from the DWD, we're making exciting things happen for our students. So next slide. First, this is our longest running WEI. San Souci is one of our most strategic partners, really, for years. They've worked with us, and they host a class at their business, their United Way agency, and it's all about HSE. So they actually employ probably the folks with the most barriers to employment. They get them through a probationary period, and then they require anyone that doesn't have their diploma to go through our HSE classes. They keep them logged in, clocked in on their time. They offer the space. They pay them, moves that transportation barrier. Then they pay for their testing once they're ready to test, with the whole goal of that self-sustainability and moving on to an even higher paying job after that experience at Sans Souci. And they really credit that experience with us as a key to their success. Another example we have is a workplace ELL class with TrueFlex. It's a manufacturing business in Taylorsville, Edinburgh area. They have a number of non-native English speakers working there, and so they actually reached out to us, which was an exciting thing. And we have one of our ELL instructors go there. We've had one 10-week class go through, and we're in our second cohort now. It's been really great. TrueFlex has put a lot of skin in the game as well. They pay for half of the employee's time in class. The employee volunteers the other half of their time. So for our 2-hour class, they get 1 hour paid and 1 hour as their volunteer. They were very excited. They went through and trained our ELL instructor so that she knew kind of what sort of English skills they needed on their job, so that she could really embed that into the course, and then of course have helped, them in their daily lives with their families and their kids and their just immersion into the community. So it's been a win-win all around. The picture you see on the screen is a great party they threw at the end of the first cohort with all of their management, plant managers, everyone there. They printed up great certificates for their workers, and they were just eager to get started on a second cohort. Nikki, also, do you want to talk a little bit about the evaluation? Yeah.
So at the end of the class, we usually try and do a company impact survey where the HR basically gives us their feedback on how they thought the class went. Generally, they were very excited about everything. The one thing that they gave us that we needed some improvement on was better understanding of safety procedures. So with this class, we've kind of improved on that and added more safety that the company wanted specific to what their manufacturing was. So I don't have that slide, the company impact survey on here, but I'm willing to share that with anybody if they are interested in doing that after they have a class, because it really does give you some feedback on what you can improve on the next time.
Yeah. That's helped with that buy-in. The third, if you want to head to the next slide, our third partnership is an exciting one where we're partnering with Cummins as well as Tucasa Columbus, which is another local United Way agency. The thing that just kind of flashed on the screen is a video. You guys don't need to see that now, and the video is in Spanish, but it is an example of the marketing we've done to really grow the class to our Latino population in our county. This class is all about getting our Latino folks ready for employment as much culturally as with their skill set. So we come in and we teach the math portion. We're tabing and helping with math review, working with some Excel and computer skills, as well as some soft skills. And then Cummins also has provided volunteers from their company to come in and instruct on alternating weeks to help with specific on-site job requirements, as well as just the cultural pieces of Cummins and being ready for an interview. HR folks come in at the end of this class and offer mock interviews and help these folks with their confidence and English skills. We've had, from our first cohort, 2 individuals hired. I think they're probably over their 9-month hired kind of time and have been a real success and asset to the company. So they're excited. We're actually on our 3rd cohort of this moving forward, and it continues to evolve and grow. Number 4, next one is in Jackson County, and this has been another new creative initiative that Nikki really spearheaded in Jackson County with the Jackson County Industrial Development Corporation, and Sheriff Rick Meyer and the Jackson County Jail has been the leader really in this, and being creative and allowing for transportation of the inmates, really handpicking those best inmates who are ready for success. And so this is with training, and the inmates that came through this got their MSSC CPT, so Certified Production Technician training. That first cohort was a great learning experience, and how do you select who's going to be in and who might get released before the time. But we've had 2 go through that first cohort and fully complete all 4 pieces of that training, and then get hired after release. We're moving into cohort 2 right now. This week, we're actually just getting started with that initial TABE testing to see who can qualify for the CPT class and who needs their HSE class and stuff first. So we tested, I think, Nikki, you texted 10 or?
We tested 10 for CPT on Monday, and we have 10 that are ready to start. We had a snow day yesterday. We were supposed to start yesterday, but that didn't happen. But we have 7 for HSE, and actually 3 of those in the HSE class have levels high enough that they are going to be doing both the CPT and the HSE at the jail. So I think the key to working in corrections is you need one person that is your point of contact. As when you're trying, they're very busy when you're trying to organize this. Just having that one person really made all the difference in getting this going, because it did take us quite a while logistically to get this moved to the actual jail. And then the Chromebooks, having them on site so that they can actually have lab time during the week is also going to be really helpful for them to move through.
And then that workplace connection that has been so great is the JCIDC has really worked with their member employers who are coming in weekly to do sort of presentations about what they can offer as an employer, to start building those relationships with the folks getting trained now while they're still in jail, so that upon release, they have a plan to which employer they're going to. They have some training. They have their HSE if they don't already have it, so that they can transition out of corrections and straight into some employment. So we're really excited about that. We don't have a 5th slide, but we do want to mention we are also working in a unique setting with CRH, our local hospital, as well as Magnolia Healthcare, which is local nursing homes and healthcare centers in that way. We're working with Trainer Connect, an outside training provider for CNA and CCMA with Next Level Jobs. That has also been, taking a lot of patience and meetings and talking to get that around. But us as adult ed, we have really stayed valuable in this whole mix as Trainer Connect has worked with these. We do the ABE piece, we do the TABE testing, we do soft skills, and in general, we vet those students before they get into the CCMA class with Trainer Connect and the hospital, and that has been a really valuable thing for them moving forward, so that we know we're getting the right people that are committed and able to be successful there. And I think that's shown the credibility of adult education moving forward, that we do have a valuable piece in this training puzzle for our employers and the training providers in the area. And that's what we've got for you.
Well, thank you so much. Great information. Thank you so much, Megan and Nikki. On this slide when I introduced you, was your email addresses. I'm sure if folks have questions, that you certainly allow them to send you an email or any information, and there it is up on the screen for Megan and Nikki to your right there, their email addresses. So please give them a shout out. Thank you so much again, Megan and Nikki, for all your success. And I think you made a great point when you said about staying valuable, being valuable to our companies, to our businesses, to our workforce. So thank you again. Let's move on. You're more than welcome. Let's move on to some other news here in adult education, to some reassignments within the adult education state staff. We are very, very pleased to announce that Jose Torres is the new state academic and career coordinator to assist adult education programs implement, and develop academic and career coaches for students across the state of Indiana. As with the Professional Development Facilitator Network, we hope this program will be a model for other states to implement. No pressure there, Jose. No pressure whatsoever. Meanwhile, Dan DeVeers is the new AEC for Region 1, taking over for Jose. He continues as an AEC for Region 4, and he will serve continually as a member of the PD project. Lance is the new AEC for Region 2. He will continue as an AEC for Regions 3 and 6 and serves as a member of the state monitoring team, which he will continue to do. Back in Indianapolis, Scott Mills. Scott Mills is the new AEC for Region 5. He continues as the AEC for IDOC and provides support for the grants team. And finally, we can't leave out Donna Lovelady. She is the new primary contact for grant-related questions. So here's a map with all the staff changes that I went over. After we post this, if you want to print out this slide as a reminder with all the contact information, you will then have that for your reference. Some other news, there were minor changes made in the NRS Technical Assistance Guide, and you may view this guide at nrsweb.org. This guide is now available as an interactive ebook. In addition to being more attractive, the new format allows for easier navigation so that you can quickly find the information that you need. Some very, very minor changes, really. If you want to go through and kind of look at that again, that is sort of our book, if you will, for the National Reporting System for Adult Education. And these changes were made late in the summer. Also, want to mention the Governor's Workforce Cabinet. It has held 8 listening tours so far across the state. We would encourage you, adult educators, to attend if possible. The remaining dates are tonight, November 13th in South Bend, November 21st in Muncie, and November 25th in LaPorte. The listening tours are from 5 to 7 p.m. at the local libraries in those communities. You will hear an overview of the Governor's Workforce Cabinet from P.J. McGrew, who is the Executive Director, and have an opportunity to discuss four items. Number 1, delivery of services. 2, programming. 3, barriers and wraparound supports. And 4, how Indiana can develop, attract, and retain talent in Indiana. If you can't attend one of the 3 remaining sessions and you have some comments that you would like, the email address is on your screen. You can also contact PJ directly at his email address, which is also on the screen. Now let's turn to some policies and procedures this morning. Many of these are reminders from the last 2 webinars that we have done, but I want to make sure that you have this information if you weren't listening either in September or October. And our intent is, again, to provide clarifications based on questions that you have been asking. The first is reporting contact hours for participants in distance education. Students in distance education must have at least 12 hours of contact with the program before they can be counted for federal reporting purposes. Contact hours for distance learners can be a combination of actual direct contact or contact through telephone, video, teleconference, or online communication where participant and program staff can interact and through which participant identity is verifiable. Enters will not flag distance hours if hours are entered before a student is officially enrolled for federal reporting purposes. AECs will check and notify programs if they see this occurring, and local program directors will need to monitor this as well. What kind of documentation is required for distance education, particularly for proxy hours? I would retain as I've said in the past, a representative sample of student work. For example, homework packets completed through distance education. It is not necessary to retain every assignment. If logs are used, ensure there is sufficient detail entered on the distance learning log to outline the assignment that was completed, include dates and times on the log for the proxy hours, and I would have a space for the teacher and student signature on the log to provide further documentation. On the screen is the link to the distance education policy that was approved for Indiana by the U.S. Department of Education for use in our state. And this policy reflects the guidance that was provided by USDOE several years ago to states. Now let's turn to post-testing using TABE 11 and 12. And again, we went over this last month, but as a reminder, I want to just go over it again with you this morning. Indiana's assessment policy and recommendations from the test publisher for TABE 11 and 12 provide very specific times to post-test. The National Reporting System for Adult Ed, the Technical Assistance Guide, which I mentioned a few seconds ago, provides additional guidance. Every year, each state's assessment policy is reviewed and approved in December by the U.S. Department of Education. On the right of your screen are the levels and the minimum times to post-test. If a student is post-tested using alternate forms, for example, the student is pre-tested with 11M and is post-tested using 12M, the minimum number of instructional hours is 40. The test publisher actually recommends more hours after 50 to 60 hours. For ASE levels using alternate forms, the minimum number of hours is 30. If the form is used regardless of level, the minimum number of instructional hours is 60. Furthermore, TABE says there should be at least 6 months' time between like forms testing to minimize any practice effect. The state office is serious, as I said last month, about ensuring that we adhere to these times for post-testing. TABE has said that random and frequent testing will not present valid gain scores and will instead produce questionable scores. Instruction between testing periods is strongly recommended to maximize gain. The proper use of the locator test should also be an integral part of the testing process. Indiana's assessment policy also indicates that post-test may be administered sooner than the recommended hours of attendance only if a student receives intense instruction or plans to exit the program early. This should occur only in rare instances, and you must keep documentation of early test administration must be retained, why you did what you did. Does this mean that students, can they be pre- and post-tested within the first 12 instructional hours with TABE 11 and 12, or a little bit after that? The answer is no. As we said in last month's webinar, any time frame under 30 hours will likely produce heartburn for your AEC. They are looking over this data, they are watching, and they will ask questions if they see things that bother them or they have questions regarding your testing. So just please keep this in mind. Now let's turn to TABE Class E. A minimum of 40 hours is required for all ELL levels if alternate forms are used. As you can see, the publisher actually recommends more hours. We were able to get a reduced number of hours approved, as with TABE 11 and 12 for use through the U.S. Department of Education. If the same form is administered, the time frame is 60 to 80 hours. The test publisher actually recommends 100 to 140 hours of instruction for same form testing for TABE Class EB. Go to the next one. Let's turn to other policies and procedures this morning. We mentioned that on previous webinars, again, we've mentioned some of these as well. What do we expect to see on attendance logs? The teacher manual refers to attendance logs as sign-in, sign-out sheets. Very, very simply, we expect to see actual student signatures. The minimum elements of a sign-in, sign-out sheet that we expect to see include the name of the class, date, class times, a space for actual student signatures, and a space for the student to write in times when he or she entered and left class. What happens if a student fails to sign in or sign out? And we know that happens. What should our teachers do? The teacher may write in the student's signature and or the times he or she entered or left class. The teacher needs to initial and date by that signature. And again, please remember this should only occur on rare occasions. The students should get in habit of signing in and signing out if they haven't already been doing so. That is a lot of information. Let's now turn to some performance data. How are we doing as we approach mid-year and the holidays? When NRS Table 4 was run yesterday for the current year, the statewide measurable skill gain was 47%. 47%. So far this year, there are more than 13,656 students enrolled, with 1,438 students receiving an HSC. At this point, we are really off to a great start with enrollments, a fast start with enrollments, HSCs, and measurable skill gains compared to a year ago. And speaking about a year ago, let's look at some information up here. Enrollment is up by more than 2,000 students from 2018 to 2019, which is great news. And MSGs are up by nearly 13.5 percentage points. HSCs are up as well. They're up by about 700 diplomas. Our separation rate is about a percentage more than what it was a year ago, but we're serving more students, 2,000 more students. I think our enrollment, MSGs, and HSCs at this point offset any concern about our separation. Great, great work. What we have done this morning is taken this information that we ran the reports yesterday to sort of give you an idea of how the regions are doing. So let's now look at regional data. This is for measurable skill gains. Regions 8, 9, 10, and 11, and I've included DOC as well in the region, are the top 5 with measurable skills gains. Region 10, 68.52. You can see Region 8, 49.14, and Region 1, 48.85. Great work. Regions 2, 3, and 4, as you can see, are below the state average currently. Let's turn to enrollments. Region 5, obviously the Indianapolis area has the largest enrollment, 4,403 students. DOC is number 2 with 2299, and you can see Region 10 has the fewest enrollments so far at 216. Here are the regional numbers for HSCs that are highlighted on the slide. Regions 3, 4, 5, and 8, plus DOC lead the state, and regions 1, 2, and 11 follow. Some really good numbers there so far as we approach mid-year. Let's turn to distance education, and let's turn to the state as a whole. The state MSG for distance education is 49.65, nearly 50%. 4,250 students out of the 13,000 plus. About 31% so far this year are participating in some form of distance education, and about 10% of the distance education students, or 434, have earned an HSE. Donna is here this morning, and she's going to go over some information regarding grants. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning. Grant time used to be just a couple of months at the beginning of the year and then a close down in June and July, but grant information is year-round anymore. So we know that you'll have questions still about the current grant and questions about upcoming grant competition starting next year. So please feel free to send an email to either me or to Scott Mills or just to the Adult Ed mailbox. And if it's a question that we like and can answer, we'll get back with you. But otherwise, no, we'll be glad to help you out as best we can. And back to Jerry.
Thank you very much. We had the opportunity, before I introduced Dan, to come up and talk about the professional development project. Marilyn and I had the opportunity to present nationally to the National Association of State Directors in Seattle a few weeks ago about the professional development project and all the good work that you have done in our state to make sure that this is a success as well as a model program. And I can tell you it was very, very well received. Several states have said, wow, that's an innovative idea, and we're looking forward to actually implementing something very similar in our states, and expect some calls, some questions from the other states as they think about implementing the PDF project in their states. So congratulations to all of you. I want you to know that a lot of your work and what you're doing is not only noticed in Indiana, but is noticed among our colleagues across our country. So thank you for the good work that you're doing. Dan, the PDF project.
Good morning. I just returned from vacation. I was in Florida. I was swimming each morning, and as we drove in, Monday night it was snowing, and that's not a fun experience in a 40-foot motorhome, but I'm here and alive. So what I wanted to start with is taking a look. We had our first quarterly reports that were submitted. And first of all, the PD state team would like to say it's gotten better each year, but these reports that were sent to us were quite incredible. And what I'm going to do right now is just go over some of the comments that were submitted to us. And these are actually taken directly from the quarterly reports. As you can see on this slide, one program said, enabling an experienced teacher to work with the new teachers before the school year started, and then again shortly after allowed new teachers to feel comfortable starting the new year, and then develop additional specific questions for the later meetings. Check and adjust often, and this is what we do at the state, and we saw this very much in the quarterly reports with the looking at barriers and the next steps. What was done right and what can be improved. Distance is a barrier for low-performing students to be able to observe high-performing instructors in a timely manner. This is one comment. Teachers report that many of their learners do not have time for distance learning given their busy work schedule. Then at the same time, so there's a comment where there was an issue with students having time. However, we had a number of comments where we found the exact opposite happening. Many students are spending several hours a week in distance learning. When they are recording it on the sign-in sheet, it encourages them that their efforts are being acknowledged, and it allows teachers an opportunity to get positive feedback. This can be motivating to continue with distance learning. It allows us an avenue for students to make up for their absences. This, again, is very much what we're finding with the PD project. Whether you're doing an orientation, who's the first person the students talk to, and the teachers that they have. It's all about personality and really motivating the students to help them out. And here we get two exactly, there are different comments on distance learning. And there again, do the teachers understand it? Yes, it is difficult for students, but are we still trying to motivate them to get a few distance hours, do a little bit more? It takes extra work and it takes the right personality there. And there again, those teachers in your program, when you pull your table 4C, see which teachers are working well with distance learning and have them talk or present during PD events at your local program or regions, what they're doing to help motivate these students in their classes to do the distance learning. Positive reinforcement is given in the classroom for those who do complete distance learning assignments, which led to more students requesting take-home assignments. Next slide. The MOS class will be smaller since only students at higher levels are admitted, but this should be counteracted by a better completion rate. The completion rate should also be helped with a shorter overall length of class. There again, depending on what's too, are IETs too long? Are they too short? It's kind of finding that sweet spot. We have multiple level students in each class. We are customizing our fast track programming. And I'll come back to this idea of fast track when we look at our next meeting that we're going to have with PDFs and directors. Teachers are advised to post test after a minimum of 30 hours. Could be done following remediation after an unsuccessful task test. Fast track students are difficult to keep in the program long enough to get 30 hours. And there again, we're going to talk about during the next PDF directors meeting, what truly is fast tracking a student, okay? Teachers below 50% were visited by the coordinator to discuss strategies and improvement. We took these, as you can see, we took these directly from here. So I know Jerry's a grammar Nazi, so he would not have done that. Right, Jerry? Sure, I got it. Okay, go ahead. All right. The new attendance policy adopted by the staff of no more than 3 absences in a 30-day time period to help with students' MSG performance on post-testing. That's getting tough, and there's expectations because coming to class is very much like coming to work, and each program, needs to kind of set up some kind of attendance policy. And that, I'm sure that was really tough for them to try that in the beginning, but in this case here, they found to be very successful. Teachers share with their director and dean personal strategies for post-testing students, which is good. Passing the readiness test can now be what makes students eligible for our new scholarship, which will pay for test fees. That's great. That's something that's been happening around the state. We'd like to see more of it. Teachers are given a list every Friday of students who need to have a post-test, who need a gain, and which ones are about to exit for contact. We're off to a great start with welding, QuickBooks, and logistics IET classes. We implemented a scholarship packet for students to complete in order to have trainings offered to them for free. This will eliminate students who are not fully committed. Reviewing data with teachers on a regular basis was a good way to keep them informed of the progress their students were making. Teachers were very interested in how the data could be used to drive instruction. As we move into the holidays and winter, staff and teachers are devising ways to keep students coming, progressing, achieving to avoid our annual table 4 column I slump. This is a very important statement here because we've just come out of fall break. We're going into Thanksgiving break and Christmas break, and sometimes the last thing you're thinking about is coming to class. So there's got to be a lot of motivating here, and we see that, and that's the whole idea of ending December like it's June. Because, a lot of these students who've come in the early part of the year, it's really hard to keep them coming into the second semester or second part of the year. All right, look forward. It's not mine.
Thank you very much, Dan. Let's move on to Roy in the Workforce Education Project. Roy?
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Brent and I should be caught up on everybody's application. We are currently going over River Valley. They're doing one with Casino, so we're going over that one today. But everybody else should be caught up. If you have any questions about any of your courses, just send me an email and we can double check on that. I want to thank everyone statewide because I believe we have a WEI in every region now. There's just one region where we're going over some paperwork, but I think they'll have one approved soon. So I want to thank everyone for their hard work and keep it up.
Thank you very much. Brent is here to talk about IETs, workforce projects, and Work Indiana. Brent?
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it. As you can see on the screen, for the new year, IET enrollments are at 1,385. IELCE enrollments are 93. Still enrolled, 1,063. Dropped 50. Completions, 272. Certs, 220. Workforce, WEI, right now we're currently at 798 enrollments. And then the Work Indiana updates, as you can see to the right, currently to date we have 1,778 enrollments, still enrolled 59, completers 1,517, which completion rate of 88.25%, drop rate 11, certs issued 1,230, cert rate 81.08%, employment is at 709, and then employment rate is at 46.74. This data was pulled on November the 8th. Once again, keep up the great work that you all do. We do appreciate it on our side. And if you have any questions at all regarding WEIs, IETs, or even enters, don't hesitate to call or email, and we'll get back with you as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bryn. And speaking of the enters, obviously Matt and Bryn are here, so they've got a number of updates in regard to enters. Matt?
Before we get actually started on enter stuff, I have just general information. If you need to get on to the mailing list for the webinar invites, you need to email the DWD ABE email that sends that stuff out, or email myself or Donna Lovelady. We can get you on the list. Do not reply to Bob Burge, where this email comes from originally. It is his account that we are using. It does not get to us. It goes to DWD Media. Then they have to forward us the request. So anything on any information for the webinar, contact us. Okay, cool. What's on the next slide? We got training. Okay, now we're doing the follow-up, post-testing, adherence to testing timeframes, and overrides. Okay, so as Jerry just mentioned about all of the hours, I've noticed that there is a lot of people that are doing overrides on their tests for post-test too early. You're just creating more work for your data entry staff by not following the policy. Seriously, I just looked at a student, all 6 of their last tests, every single one of them was overridden for being too early. So 2 sets of post-tests on 2 different dates, and the student never made a gain on any of those tests. That's not intense instruction. That's not an exception to what you need to be doing. That's not following the policy, in my opinion. So we are looking at the data down to student level data. All of those overrides are tracked. You must give a valid reason with the overrides of why you tested the student early. All right, next slide. So last call, I talked about the continuing period of participation, put this nice graphic up for the HSEs. An MSG for a TABE gain does not count in this fashion because the entry level of the student for the new term is based on the last test that they passed in 1819. If you use that pre-test from 1819, from 90 days prior to the first, that is their entry level for 1920. So that gain that they got from 1819 can't count because their entry level is reset to what they are currently at. The only way for that to work is if you re-pre-test all of your students in the new term, which most of the programs don't do that. They use the prior test so that there's less testing. But the HSE will still work for the continuing period participation. Oh, yeah. There's the HSE. It's good. All right. So the next slide is that it goes back. Here's the post-test gain. I didn't know actually. I thought you just left my old slides in. You really made a new one. Here, he explains it great. You can read the slide that I just talked about. Okay. Training. If you did not get the training email, we're sorry. He's already got it on there. The reports training is full. Both of those dates, the 5th and the 12th, are full. I cannot stress this enough. You should get here early. You have to go through security at the downtown office here. You have to sign into DWD, which is right by the public entrance. You have to get a badge. You got to be escorted to the training room, and then you're locked into the building. No, I'm kidding.
Got to find a place to park.
And you must find parking, which is hard. Very hard at the government center. I know that the training starts at 9. We will be available to get you into the building early.
Might have to pay for training or pay for parking.
Oh yeah, you'll have to bring change to pay for parking or a credit card.
Just in case.
If it's in front of the building here, they take credit cards. So just keep that in mind. If you can carpool, that would be better. Again, the 5th and the 12th, the reports training is all full. I have 2 seats available for the 3rd, 9 seats for the 4th, and 10 seats for the 10th. That is the only slots that I have left, and that's all for user training. That user training is not going to be like we did in the past where there was 1 day of an intro, 1 day of this. It is a complete day of training where I am going to step you through everything you need to do as a data entry person in the day-to-day operations of adult basic education. It's going to be a very long day of training. We'll probably get done about 3. So I really can't stress enough about getting here early to get parking and get checked in and all that stuff. Because we're starting right at 9, and once we start, we're maybe not going to be able to come get you from the front desk because there's a lot of stuff that has to happen. We lost our training lab. Sorry, it's like this. This is the only place we can do it for right now. All right, go ahead, Brent.
Do you want to speak on? We've gotten some questions about people like, do we need to come to the training? Do we have to?
It's up to you. We suggest that you do. I think that in the policy it's required that you at least attend one. We are also going to offer this at IAACE. Jennifer, we haven't really actually spoke to you about that yet, but we're gonna make arrangements to try to do this exact same training at IAACE. It's required. Scott's saying it's required. So get on the list, and again, that's first come, first serve. I went through all the emails, emailed everybody back as soon as I got them, like within minutes, because I signed them up and put you on. Sorry, it filled up. That's all we got.
Thank you very much, Matt and Bryn. As we finish up this morning, let's turn to Lance. The Youth Young Adult Services team provided a slide for their updates, and Lance is here this morning to go over that with you. Lance?
Thank you, Terry. From the Youth Initiatives team, the annual Young Adult Services Summit was held on October 28th at Val Vista Golf Club and Conference Center in Greenwood, which saw over 80 youth professionals from across the state come together for networking, training, and the opportunity to celebrate their successes. New this year was a panel of youth who have engaged in career services to tell their stories of how services have impacted their lives. The panel featured young adults from Indianapolis, North Vernon, and Shelbyville.
Thank you very much. Lance, that was a short report. Before I introduce Jen, the Executive Director of IAACE, the conference that we all enjoy will be moving in coming years. And I didn't see this information in Jen's slide that she submitted and that you'll see in just a couple of minutes, but I thought you might be interested in knowing where you're going. Of course, the 2020 conference, IAACE conference, will again be in French Lick. This is year 3 of a 3-year contract. And your board has decided to go on the road in future years. The conference will be at Blue Chip Hotel and Casino in Michigan City in 2021. It will go way south to Belterra in 2022 and 2024. Belterra is in a little community of Florence, Indiana, not Florence, Kentucky, but Florence, Indiana, near Vevey, Indiana, on the Ohio River. A very beautiful resort there. So Belterra in 2022 and 2024. We will then go back upstate to Fort Wayne in 2023. So that's the next 4 years, including our conference 2020 at for IAACE in French Lick in April. Now that you know where you're going, Jen, are you on the line?
I am, Jerry. How are you today?
We're doing well. Cold but well.
Thanks for stealing my good news. I was saving that.
Oh.
I'm just teasing you. Hello, everybody. Let's focus on the 2020 conference at French Lick. Yes, it is our last year in French Lick, so let's make it fabulous by submitting a call for presenters and proposals. It is actually live now. We are asking all individuals across, and the PD team is also helping us to search out for those individuals that you feel are doing or sharing something that you think everyone could benefit from, and have them submit a proposal. All proposals are due by December 15th. And we hope to have a great lineup promptly for you in the beginning of the year. So the more that proposals that we can get in, the better. Next up, you might have already seen, but we are doing 3 keynotes. There's no way to get better into the future than to have 3 keynotes. I think basically the committee just couldn't decide. We had so many awesome choices, we decided to do 3. So Wednesday is Dr. Lori from Butler University. Her keynote is on how our brains learn, feel, behave, and socialize. Steve Hafner will be on Thursday from AHA Ta-da, and he's going to challenge our invisible mental deceptions, and we're going to achieve magical results in regards to that. And then local from Indiana, Kim Strobel, Remembering Your Why, meaning purpose and passion in education, will be on Friday. With that said, the schedule for 2020 conference is going to be a little different, and we hope to roll that out by the end of the month, no later than next month. The vendor sponsor registration is also live. You guys are out in the field. You are dealing with the individuals that need to be there. So we are also asking for help for you to make that invitation to anyone that you feel would benefit from being an exhibitor. You can share the link, you can share the website, or you can just send their information to Deb Sherwood, Laura Smart, or myself, and we will contact them to get them involved in the conference. And it is time to fall back into your membership. We would love to see everyone renew or join now. get your membership in order. It doesn't matter if it's a few months early, you can always renew, and it will start at the time of your renewal date so that you don't miss out on the benefits of the reduced conference registration fees and of course the COA membership. And there's lots of other membership benefits out on our website. And if you need to know about any of them, all you have to do is send me an email or pick up the phone and give me a call, text. I'm working for you and I want to hear from you. So renew your membership today. And last but not least, it is time to get social. And what I mean by that is to tag IAAC in your post. You can simply do that with a hashtag of hashtag IAACE. And you can also use Adult Education. Follow us and share with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you use our hashtag, then we can retweet your stuff and share your stuff on Facebook and Instagram. Basically, we help you, you help us, and we get the word out about adult education on a state level. And that's all I've got. Back to you, Jerry.
Thank you so much, Jen. I've already been asked amongst ourselves here at DWD, who is this Steve Hafner? Is he any relation to you, Jerry? Both Steve and Jerry are indeed from the South. I'm from the Jeffersonville, New Albany area. Steve is from Louisville. But Steve is not my brother, and I do not know Steve, so I just want to make that clear. I have no known relationship with Steve Hafner. Well, again, thank you. We've covered so much information all within an hour this morning. I really appreciate you joining us this morning. Our next statewide webinar will be after Thanksgiving, December 11th, 2019 at 10 a.m. Please have a great afternoon and stay warm.